Everyone, Cam Roberts here. Welcome to the podcast show. On today's show, I've got a very special guest. His name is Darryl Amy, and Darryl is a growth architect helping companies grow faster. He's the author of Revenue Growth Engine, a Forbes contributor, and the host of the Revenue Growth podcast. So, Darryl, thank you very much for joining me on the show.
Oh, Cam, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me in today.
So, Darryl, just before we get into the podcast show and I ask you a few questions, just give the listeners a little bit of a story about who you are, where you come from, and also how you got started in writing your book, The Revenue Growth Engine.
Yeah, you bet. I'm a Canadian kid. I married a sweet Southern girl in the United States. I now live in the Mid-South in the United States.
Yep.
And I get to work with organizations all over North America, some in Australia as well, helping them develop and execute revenue growth strategies. I'm a sales junkie that had a marketing degree. So I started straight out of university in technology sales, was a sales rep, sales manager, ran a branch, and worked for a Japanese company, helping them recruit and train distributors. And when I got the idea to go out on my own and start a sales training company, my very first client in 2004 came to me, Cam, and said, "Hey, everything you taught my team was fantastic, but my website doesn't say anything about it. Do you build websites?" So back in 2004, first client, the answer was yes, sir. We build websites. I'd actually built one for a nonprofit and for my church as well. But that started me on this journey for the last, 16, almost 17 years now, of one foot squarely in the sales and sales development world. Had the opportunity to train thousands of salespeople. And then also in the marketing world, along that whole journey of search engines and social and inbound and account-based marketing and all the fun stuff along that journey. And so it's brought me to where I am today, which is helping companies develop and execute strategies to grow revenue.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool. You talked about sales and marketing. Do you find that it's hard to bring the two together in many organizations?
Well, historically, I think the answer has been, unfortunately, yes. Sales and marketing alignment has been a topic of conversation for a long time. And, I was actually, the book came together, Revenue Growth Engine, the whole concept behind it came together. One day I was speaking at a conference, and it was a conference where sales and marketing people were there together. The marketing people were all excited about the latest inbound technologies and all of that. The salespeople, you could see them, they were a row back. They were all looking at their iPhones with their eyes rolling, going, "Why are we here? The leads you send us are garbage." And at the back of the room were the owners, the business owners were standing at the back of the room, and you could almost see the thought bubbles over their head going, "Why can't you guys just get along, and do what you're here to do?" And that's where the light bulb came on. It's not about sales. It's not about marketing. It's actually about driving revenue growth. And when we get the focus, marketing's wonderful. We got a lot of shiny objects and a lot of really cool stuff. Sales is a great profession as well. However, both should be aimed at the goal of what can we do to drive revenue.
That's
in
really
particular. Good. Yeah. And that to me is the point of alignment. It's like when you bring your car in, we've all driven a car that's out of alignment, right? It's pulling to the left, pulling to the right. They bring it into the shop and they focus the wheels on a point on the wall. And here the alignment of sales and marketing happens when we focus on revenue growth. And in particular, I believe revenue growth with ideal clients. And that's where we start to come into alignment.
Yeah, that's really good. Do you think historically there's been that disconnection between sales and marketing? Because historically in many companies, they're actually a different department. They're in different rooms, they're in different parts of the building, or even different parts of the state, if it's a multinational company, right? Whereas it's like the marketing department. There's people in marketing that just do SEO, and then there's other people in marketing that just do PPC or, anything like that, but they're still in the same team. Do you think that causes that alignment issue when, the sales and marketing department isn't one department?
Clearly, and I think that more than anything, one of the things that gives sales the advantage is sales is always talking to clients and
That's right.
prospects,
Yeah.
whereas in marketing we tend to we get heads down in our office or and are working on things. I think one of the best ways to begin to align sales and marketing is for us in marketing to be able to get out in front of clients. I
Yeah.
used to say get in the field. Now
Yep.
that means get on the Zoom or team meeting with the prospects and clients. Because here's the deal, at the end of the day, marketing, we're tasked with providing a message is a core part of marketing, right? Is that message.
Yep.
Well, how do we get the message so it's not just going to be corporate white noise? We've got to be in front of clients and prospects consistently, listening, paying attention to, like, not only what are their top of mind needs, what are the outcomes they want, and by the way, that
Yep.
shifted with COVID
Yep.
in most industries, but also just like the actual, like the words they're using, the specific language, because that becomes the secret sauce ingredient to actually create the effective messaging that we use in our inbound and outbound marketing strategy. So I say get out of the office. Douglas Burdett hosts the Marketing Book podcast, and he actually screenshotted a part of Revenue Growth Engine, the book, where I talk about that, and it provoked a lot of discussion on LinkedIn this past week from
Oh, that's
marketing
good.
people, going. And salespeople going, yeah, get out in the field, because that's where the good stuff is. That's where you
Yeah.
get the juice that you need to really, turbocharge your marketing message. So
Yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot of value there in that, isn't there? Absolutely.
there is. And one of the things I noticed, Cam, as having worked in agencies and been a part of an agency now since 2004, is a client will call us up and say, hey, we need to redo our website. It's a pretty common thing, right? And so we come back with and have a broader conversation about the strategy, and it might include a website, it might include a brochure, and it might include case studies or success stories. And over again, I would have clients come back and go, yep, we need the website and do a corporate brochure for us and a video. And I would say, well, what about the case studies? Oh, we'll,
Yeah.
we'll get around to that someday.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the case studies. Well, guess what? They never happen.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
so I get to the point, and I write about this in Revenue Growth Engine, and I just got frustrated. I was like, you know what? We're not doing a website anymore until we get to write at least 3 case studies.
Yeah. That's good.
And
Absolutely.
that should be at the top of the list, because
Yeah.
that's where the clients tell you why they bought, what they value, and how to message to them. And so I get a little fired up about that one, Cam. But
That's good advice.
yeah. So marketing people, by the way, don't just get out of the office. Set a quota for yourself, of 1 case study write up a month, or if you don't have a library, do 1 a week to get started.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where
That's
you're
really
going to
good.
get the good stuff.
Yeah. That's really good. Now, Darryl, you talked about the shift actually with COVID, and that's very
Hmm.
topical. We're at the time of recording, we're almost at the end of the year. Everyone's looking forward to 2021. Can't get 2020 behind us quick enough. But what are some of the goals that people can set around 2021? Should they be
Hmm.
different to what they were setting at the start of 2020? Before the proverbial everything hit the fan.
Well, so here's the challenge: is how do you set goals in an uncertain environment? And
Right.
if you look at the way most companies set goals before the pandemic, I believe there were like 2 core ways companies set goals. One of them is what I call the spaghetti on the wall method,
Yeah.
where you just like throw the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. And we
Yeah.
can laugh at that, but
It happens.
it
Yeah.
happens a lot, and that's not good.
Yeah.
So this isn't a year for spaghetti on the wall. The more conservative way to do it is what I call the ruler method. And that's where, you take a ruler and you put it on, the last few years of growth, and you go, well,
Yeah.
we did 10%. So I think we can do 10% again this year.
Yeah.
The problem with the ruler method, even though I would argue that you have been leaving all kinds of money on the table for years, The problem with the ruler method right now is the ruler's pointed in the wrong direction for a
Yeah.
lot of companies.
Yeah.
You took a nosedive maybe in, or maybe you were selling, face masks and personal protective equipment, and you had
Yeah.
this unrealistic year. How do you set a goal for 2021? Well, here's how I believe you can do this and set aggressive but realistic goals. And that is go one level deeper below the revenue and ask what drives revenue in your
Yeah.
company. And I think there's only two ways that companies grow revenue. When you boil it all down, really, we get more net new clients, or we cross sell more to our existing clients.
Oh, that's
And
good.
so, yeah, so it's really that simple. And by the way, as I talk with companies, and I did a very statistically insignificant survey on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, where I said, are you better at net new or are you better at cross sell?
Yeah.
Most companies say they're better at net new,
Yeah. I was going to
and that
say that.
cross sell gets
Yeah.
ignored, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you want to set goals, here's what I would do. I would go that level deeper and go, okay, it's the end of 2020. How many active customers do we have now? It's gonna be
Yep.
different for every type of business, but what's like the line in the sand for how many customers you have? That's your starting number. And then the second number you need to know is what's our revenue per customer, which is going to be some really complicated math. So pay
Yep.
attention. What's your
Yep.
total revenue for last year
Yep.
divided by that number of customers?
Yep.
Now you've got your baseline, and then you can sit around as a leadership team and go, okay, we've got 1,000 customers right now. If we put the right, marketing and sales systems in place, how much could we grow that? Could we grow that 10%, 15%?
Yep.
Write that number down. And then same thing for cross sell. And this is where a lot of companies leave money on the table. But if we got strategic about our marketing and sales strategies to our current client base, what can we do to raise that revenue per customer? Set
Yeah.
goals in both those areas, then add them up, right? And then
Yeah.
add them up and go, okay, now you've got a realistic goal. And I think you're going to be surprised. A lot of business owners are when they realize that if we have modest growth in both of those areas, the total number looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. So you talked about a net new and cross sell.
Mhm.
If a company wanted to grow quickly because they were affected by COVID, would you
Mhm.
say that it's best to focus more of their energy on net new or more of their energy on cross sell?
Well, I would say that the majority of companies that we're working with right now are realizing that their cross sell is opportunities are huge
Opportunities.
inside
Yeah.
their current client base, right? I
Yep.
mean, we all know that the numbers cost like 10 times as much to get a new client as to sell more to your current clients.
Yep.
And so, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. Here's what I would say though: if you find yourself your revenues dropped and you've got to accelerate out of that ditch, ask yourself, what can we do to get both going simultaneously? So,
Yeah.
if you've got a good net new in place, you got a good sales team, good inbound lead flow, and all of that, then go, okay, well, let's keep that going. But what if simultaneously we also got the revenue per client going up? So, both of those at the same time, here's what's cool. If you grow, and actually there's a little simple spreadsheet you can download, if you text revenue to 21,000 here in the States, and I think maybe over in the good country, go to revenuegrowthengine.net to our toolkit. There's a little spreadsheet right there. And what you'll notice is if you grow like say 12% net new and 12% in revenue per client, you'll double your revenue in
Yeah.
about 3 years.
Yeah.
And
It's really good.
it's just modest growth in each area. So you don't have to light the world on fire in your cross sell, but if you're doing steady and net new and you can get some cross sell going, all of a sudden you start creating exponential revenue growth.
Yeah. That's really good. Here's a question for you, Darryl. How
Mhm.
soon should you cross sell to a new client? So a new client comes on board. How soon do
Mhm.
you then ask them to upgrade or sell them another product or service?
Well, I think immediately. So the
Wow.
best,
Okay.
my sales manager back in the day used to say, Darryl, the best time to sell someone something is when they just
Just
bought.
bought.
And
Yeah.
I thought that's just the most cheesy sales manager thing to ever say.
Yeah.
But there's some truth to that. And so
Yeah.
what I mean by that is, um, my friend Mark Hunter is a great sales author, and he says, you don't close a sale, you open a relationship.
Yeah, that's good.
So, that mindset of sales is, well, I landed the deal, let's go on
Yeah,
to the
close
next
the
one.
deal. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I was at a conference back when we used to go to conferences last year, and Tiffany Bova was speaking, and she wrote a great book called Growth IQ. She worked as an evangelist for Salesforce, and so she's speaking to this room full of like 2,000 technology business owners, and she's looked at them, and basically, if I can paraphrase, Tiffany, forgive me, she said, "You guys are crazy." She said, "You are like someone in the old days that went out and sold everything to go find a gold mine. And you finally, after digging and digging and digging, you find a gold mine, and then you high five each other and go, okay, let's go find another gold mine. Why not
yeah.
mine the
That's right.
value in your existing client base? These
Yeah,
people already know, like, and trust you." And so I laughed. It was funny, but the reality is, when you look, and this is one of the things in Revenue Growth Engine, we challenge the readers, business owners, to go, okay, let's look at our ideal clients, our best fit clients, the ones that can buy everything that we sell. And we'll walk you through this exercise in the book, but I'll summarize it here. What if these best fit clients that can buy everything that we sell, that know, like, and trust us, bought everything that we sold
yeah,
over the next 10 years? You just start adding that up. And what I find is that exercise, and we do this over and over again with clients in a revenue growth workshop, that number is usually astounding. And it's usually way more than the current average client value, right? Because you can look at
yeah,
that 10-year
yeah,
number, move the decimal over, and then you see what it I call them 100% sold ideal client is worth on a
yeah.
yearly basis. And then contrast that with your average revenue per client, and you realize, oh my goodness,
It's a huge
we
opportunity.
are sitting on a gold mine here.
Yeah,
We just
yeah,
we just need to take care of them. So to go back to answer your question, when do you start cross-selling? In the onboarding process.
yeah. Right.
So as soon as you start onboarding, you're setting the stage for the next sale. A lot of companies, they go, oh, I'm going to call them back in 6 months to
Yeah,
start. No,
let's
onboarding
do
is
it.
when you
Yeah,
begin that process. So
yeah.
yeah, I get fired up about this stuff, Cam.
That's really good. Bec- Because the old model of waiting 6 months to see if the client's happy, or waiting 6 months to sell them something
they're,
else, like, you
they're
haven't built the
gone.
relationship. Like,
No.
they've used the product, or maybe used the service, or maybe they haven't, right? And
Hmm.
then you ring them up 6 months later, or send them an email 6 months later, yeah, checking in, see if you're happy, all that sort of business.
Right.
Yeah, it's a hard sell, isn't it? It's hard to get them to buy anything at that point, because you haven't developed that relationship.
Exactly. And that's that mindset. We didn't close the sale, we opened the
Yeah, open the
relationship. So now we
relationship.
begin the onboarding, and now we have, a cadence in place. In the book, we call it the periodic business review.
Yep.
And and the primary purpose of that, yeah, you're going to go back and review how you did, but really what you want to do is you want to be able to ask the question, hey Cam, how's your business doing? What's going on in your organization? Or if you sell the
Yep.
individual, you can ask the individual type questions. What challenges are you facing? What's changed? Right now there's so many different things, so that you can be in tune with their business. Because here's the deal, and this is a core part of my philosophy and what we share in Revenue Growth Engine. Buyers don't buy products. Nobody has ever bought a product. What they
Yeah.
buy is the outcomes those products and services deliver. So, and Theodore Levitt, this is a drill bit. It looks like about let's see, 2 millimeter drill bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and Theodore Levitt was the father of modern marketing. It was a Harvard Business School professor. He'd walk in on day one of marketing class at Harvard Business School and hold up the drill bit, and of course, everyone's looking at him, going, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Nobody ever bought a drill bit. What did they buy? The hole,"
Yeah.
right? And
That's right.
yeah, so Seth Godin would say, well, they didn't buy the whole, they bought the ability to hang something on the wall so they would look
Yeah.
good to their friends, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you bought the whole or the ability to look good to your friends. The point of the matter is your customers don't buy what you sell, they buy the outcomes.
Yeah, that's right.
So when you go and go back to your current clients, and you can't do this for everybody, but do it for your ideal clients, top 20%. When you go back to them on a regular basis, say quarterly, and you set that cadence, you can go, hey, Cam, I'm curious, by the way, how's your business? What's going on? How have things shifted with the blah, blah, blah? I mean,
Yep.
crisis right now,
Yep.
obviously. But you can do this on an ongoing basis. And then you discover what they need, what they want, the problems they have, the goals they have. And now you can begin to message around those outcomes, marketing and sales, and you grow, the revenue per client as you solve their problems.
Yeah, that's really good. You talked about the cadence of, reviewing them and going back to them, and you just mentioned,
Mhm.
go back to them every quarter. Do you think in this sort of environment of uncertainty and COVID-19 and all that sort of stuff that's going on, is quarterly still the right timing, or is it you need to keep in touch with them a little bit more than that?
Well, the good news is, the answer is, of course, it depends on your business and
Right.
how you interact with your clients. Some people think that quarterly is too frequent. Maybe it should be semi-annual. That the point is, whatever it is, that you have a regular cadence of
Yeah.
sales people meeting with clients. Now,
Yeah, that's good.
marketing now, we got to say, okay, how are we going to continue to add value to our current client base? So, there needs to be some kind of communication cadence with the client base, especially the ideal clients. And that communication cadence needs to go, if the reality of today's world, Brent Adamson and Matt Dixon and the Challenger customers said there's an average of 6.8 decision makers
Yep.
in a business to business transaction. That means there needs to be a consistent communication cadence with multiple people inside every ideal client. And then you can bundle in some other ideas we share in Revenue Growth Engine around creating a client loyalty program, similar to what your airline might do,
Yep.
or your credit card company, and thinking about events that you can do to continue to add value and educate and share knowledge with your current clients, that is going to lead to client loyalty, trust, and additional products and services being sold into those accounts. So this is why, when you think about sales and marketing alignment, instead of, well, we're marketing, we're sales. No, there's two goals here.
Yep.
Primary goal, revenue growth. How do we get more customers on board, and how do we cross sell more to our current customers? And marketing and sales both have a role to play in those two core initiatives and metrics.
That's great. So you've given us some really great value and some really good insights on sales and marketing and how to grow your revenue. Forecasting into the future, 3, 4, 5 years from now, do you see things being differently, or is this just about making sure you get the fundamentals right when it comes to aligning sales and marketing and the net new and the cross selling?
Well, I love thinking about the future, and I love technology. So, I mean, obviously, technology in the marketing and sales enablement space is going to continue to get cooler and cooler.
Yeah,
It's going to continue to evolve. But I think one of the things that's really critical in the midst of all that is that we don't lose the human component.
that's good.
And
Yeah.
yeah, there's a great book that came out this year. It was written by my friends at a great innovative company called Bomb. They wrote a book. Ethan Butte and Stephen Passanelli wrote a book called Rehumanize Business. And the book's good, but the title's dynamite, right? I
Yeah.
love that
Yeah. That's
concept of saying we can't, in the middle of all of the technology and all of the amazing AI and stuff that's going on. I got to talk to the CEO of Seamless.ai today, and it was, it's like so cool, all this
yeah.
stuff that's going on. However, in the middle of all that automation, we need to make sure that we don't lose the human touch. And
Yeah.
that
That's
goes for
good.
both sales and marketing. And this is going to be the continual tension, I think, and challenge going into the future is we've got to keep the human part, because at the end of the day, the number one currency for growth is trust.
Yeah.
and trust happens human to human. And so I think that's going to be the biggest challenge going forward.
Excellent. Well, Darryl, we're almost out of time, but before we wrap up, is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with? You know, how can they get access to your book, your website, or where do
Sure.
you want them to go next?
Well, thanks for asking. And my heart is to provide as much value as I possibly can. We've got a growing toolkit that you can access at our website, revenuegrowthengine.net. You'll see the link to the free toolkit.
Yep.
And also, of course, you can find the book on Amazon and where all fine books are sold. The other thing, though, I'd love to connect with you. And I'm always coming up with ideas and sharing ideas. So you can look for me on LinkedIn. The good news, Cam, is there's not that many people on LinkedIn with the last name Amy and the first name Darryl. So I think
That's
you're gonna
good.
find me pretty easily out there, and I'd love to connect with you.
Excellent. All right. Well, Darryl, thank you very much for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Cam. Thanks for all you're doing.